Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Lisa Kaplowitz. I'm the co-founder and executive director of the Rutgers Center for Women in Business, and I'm also a finance professor here at Rutgers Business School. So I am really excited today to bring you our next webinar, Speak Up, Elevate Your Influence and Accelerate Your Career. A lot of what we do at the Center for Women in Business is really focused on that mid-career and trying. We know that in that stage of our life, everything is overlapping. A lot of times we're taking care of young people and we're taking care of our parents. At the same time, we're in the mid-level of our career. So we are managing the junior entry-level workers and also the managers and bosses. And so what we really need to do is find our voice. And so I am so happy that we have with us today two amazing experts. They're actually Rutgers alum and former roommates. So I love that story even more. Beth Fitzgerald and Holly Remel. They are both high performance business coaches and consultants and speakers. Beth also wrote a book called The Wake Up Call, which is 365 days of inspirational action steps. Like I said, they both graduated from Rutgers University. They have about 25 years each of work experience in the financial services industry with firms like Prudential and Oppenheimer and Delaware Investments, Franklin Covey. Together, they founded Advise Her. And their mission really is to change the communication between financial services industry and the women it serves. They support female financial advisors really to achieve those high 6-7 level figures and do it in a way that feels authentic and like themselves. So with that, I'm going to go off camera.
Thank you so much, Lisa and Beth and Viviana and your whole team for all that you're doing to advance women in the workplace. And welcome, everyone. We have a great group here today, which means that this is a topic that is resonating. Beth and I are thrilled to be here. As Lisa mentioned, just a little bit of backstory about us. We were college roommates at Rutgers for 4 years. And so we have known each other a long time, and we went on to work at Oppenheimer in the World Trade Center together. And when we were at Oppenheimer, we were two of very few women, as you can imagine, 25 years plus ago. And we accelerated our careers by speaking up and speaking. So that's why this is such a near and dear program to our hearts. It really is true that if you're willing to raise your hand and stand up and either get on a stage or just advocate for yourself one-on-one or speak in front of a small group of people, it really will accelerate your career. And so today, we are excited to be here, and I'd like to go over the agenda with you real quick. So our goal, mine and Beth's, is by the end of today, you feel like you have a formula. Okay, so we're going to give you a lot of information, but we want you to have a formula that you can use, whether you're walking in for a review next week, it's review time, whether you're speaking up at a meeting, whether you're on a Zoom call and you want to say something that resonates and serves you and your career, or whether you're standing up in front of 200 people. So these tactics will work wherever you go. And like I said, it's a mini formula. So first, we're going to talk about overcoming nerves, because so often we find that women, go back, Beth.
Sorry about that.
So often we find that women don't want to stand up and advocate for themselves because they're a little nervous. And so Beth's going to talk about that. I am going to give you a very simple formula for crafting your message, whether you have 30 seconds or 30 minutes or 3 hours. Lastly, Beth's going to talk about how do you deliver in a dynamic fashion, but really by being yourself and using authenticity under pressure. So why should you present? Why is this important? Grow your confidence. That's huge. Elevate your influence. Establish your brand and accelerate your career. And I want to say from the elevate your influence, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, if we thoughtfully speak up And we use this formula to really think through what we're going to say. Even if you only have 10 seconds to think it through, you can use the formula. It will elevate your influence. It will help you to establish your brand, whether you are going to go out on your own and start your own business, whether you want a brand within your own company. And most importantly, as we keep saying, it will accelerate your career. And we've seen it time and time again with all of the people that we work with. So where are you going to use these skills? Well, speaking up in a meeting, on Zoom calls, one-on-one conversations, and if you want to present. So what I'd like everyone to do, and we are going to use the chat, and like Lisa said, if you have a question, throw it in there. We'll try to answer it as we go, but most likely we'll have a nice period of time at the end for Q&A, and we'll get to your questions then. But please put in the chat if you are not speaking up. If you are already standing on a stage, but you want to do more presentations, can you just put in the chat, like, what is the reason that you aren't stepping out more? What is the reason you're not speaking up more? And just throw that in the chat, and that'll help Beth and I as we go along, kind of try to hone it into what your particular challenge is. So we're going to move forward. And we're going to buckle up. Beth.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh, something's happening weird to the screen here. But this isn't only about speaking on a stage, as we said. This is about how you are seen and how you are heard every single day. It's your career accelerator. So let's buckle up. Let's get going. And we are really looking forward to hearing from you in the chat what your biggest challenges are about speaking up or presenting. And we will kind of tweak the presentation as we go as to what you're writing in. So throw that in the chat, and I'm going to turn it over to Beth.
Awesome. Thanks, Holly. I was trying to look at the chat, so I apologize for messing up the cadence there. Most often, the reason people won't speak up, and wherever that may be for you, is because of nerves. And nerves are real. I mean, when you talk about the number one fear for people year in and year out, it's always public speaking. And I know you've heard it a million times, but I'll say it again, more than death. That is hilarious. More than death. So many of you may feel like Sheldon here, who is breathing into a brown paper bag and saying, I'm on this call. I would love to learn how to do it, but quite frankly, I have a tremendous fear about moving forward with public speaking. And it could be maybe just speaking up in a meeting. We're talking about all the different ways that we use our voices today. And so if you do feel like Sheldon here, we're going to go over how you can feel a whole lot better about it and not think, I can't do this. You can do it. And so we're going to give you all the tips. We're going to dive into the fear and kind of, demystify it. So fear breaks down into two simple components. It's your mind and it's your body. And I would love to tell you one is more important than the other. They're not. They're intermingled, they're intertwined, and almost inextricable. So we're going to go into both today so you understand it better, understand where it's coming from, and then have a few tips and tricks to be able to overcome it and to calm your mind and your body, and have agency over yourself when this happens to you. So let's start with the mind. If you and I were sitting together, and I know there are a lot of you on the call here, we have close to 100. If you and I were together, it's just me and you, and I said to you, what are you afraid of? And you would look at me and you would most likely say, I don't know why you're asking me. Like, public speaking, what else could it be? We think it's deeper than that. And we really wanted to know exactly what it was about public speaking that was causing people this trepidation or this hesitation. And so we came up with 3 major fears that people have. And it's not the public speaking. It's a little more defined than that. Number 1, and most importantly, is being judged. And so the truth is you're going to be judged. You're judging me now. You're judging Holly. You judged Beth. You judged Lisa. But that's just a natural reaction we have. That's our body's system of assessing risk. So it goes all the way back to the caveman times and to make sure that we weren't attacked by a saber-toothed tiger. So tip number 1 is you are going to be judged, but it's okay. That's just how the body works. And if you know that going in, you can relax and say, okay, I'm going to be judged. It's just human nature. It's nothing negative. It's just how the mind and the body operate. Number two is messing up or wanting perfection. Holly and I can both tell you perfection rarely happens. I would love it if every presentation I did was perfect, but it's not. And here's 2 tips for you. One, nobody else will usually know. Now, I moved the slides around a little bit, and I guess you could say that that was, a mess up, but did that change the presentation for you? No. The person who's going to beat themselves up over that will be me later on, and that will be you. So the tip for you here is perfection rarely happens. Most often, the audience will never know. And 3, you are going to be your biggest critic. So just give yourself some grace and know that you did a great job. That little mix up that you're calling huge was minor. And lastly, being in the spotlight. By definition, speaking is being in the spotlight, whether that is on Zoom like I am now or in front of a crowd of 1,000, that's being in the spotlight. But here's the most important thing you need to know about being in the spotlight or even a one-on-one with your boss. It's not about you. It's about them. So for today, Holly and I came to give you our years of experience to share as much as we can with you so that you'll walk away with 2 things. 1, you will want to speak more. And number 2, you're going to want to hone your voice and find ways to be better at speaking in whatever purview that is for you. So being in the spotlight, it's not about the spotlight. If you're in the spotlight, you're thinking about you, flip it around and say it's about them and it's about serving others. So now let's get to the body. This is the fun part. How many of you have ever had dry mouth, sweating, shaking? Maybe your knees are banging together, butterflies in your stomach, which I guess is a euphemism for I think I'm going to throw up, rapid heartbeat, or a squeaky voice. If you've had any of these, I'd love for you to raise your hand. And most of you are off screen. But if you want to turn on your camera, how many of you have ever had this? And how many of you had more than this? Maybe dry mouth and butterflies in your stomach. Put both hands up, or you can throw it in the chat.
Thank you, Eleanor. Ding, ding, ding. Number 2.
Winner, yay. And I can put both of my hands up, and I know Holly can put both of her hands up here. So we have this physical manifestation, and we want it to stop, but we don't know how to stop it. Today, we're going to tell you how to stop it. So here's more tips for you. Right now, I just want you to think about vibration. So when you think about fear or any other lower vibration like shame or humiliation, if you thought about a lot of vibration on that, you'd feel like a really low vibration, right? But if you think about being at a party or being with someone you love, you think of a very expansive vibration. You often say, oh, I love the vibe I'm getting from that person. But if someone was in a fear state, you wouldn't be saying that, or if you were in maybe a parking deck and you're like, I just didn't like the vibe I was getting from that. The person is giving off a really low vibration. And so I share that with you because the way you give a really good presentation is you get out of fear and you get into this higher vibration where you are, you're calm, you're confident, you're courageous, and people sense that and feel that. So how do you get out of this low vibration of fear and into this high vibration? So we call it a reset routine, and it's very simple. There's 3 steps to it. We have step number 1, which is box breathing. And some of you may have heard of this before. Think of a box and it's got 4 sides, right? So the 4 sides are even in a box. And we're going to call the four sides 4 because you're going to breathe into the count of 4. You're going to hold for the count of 4. You're going to exhale for the count of 4. And you're going to hold for a count of 4. And the reason you do that is twofold. 1, you're taking over your body again. You're saying, okay, my body went into this fight or flight mode. I don't want to be in fight or flight. I know exactly why I'm going into this meeting and I want to be there and I want to be calm and confident. So we take this breathing and we slow our breathing down. We say, we don't need fight or flight. We know where we're supposed to be. We're comfortable with this. Slow it down. The second thing is you're counting. Well, when you're counting, you're operating your mind. So the first part was your body. The second part is your mind. Your mind can't think of other things if you're counting. So you count in for 4, you hold for 4, you exhale for 4, and you hold for 4. And that calms down your mind and your body. Here we are. And because of that, you're intentionally saying to your mind and your body, I'm in charge. So I like to equate it to this story, and then I will wrap up on my piece. Fear wants to be in the driver's seat. You don't want fear to be in the driver's seat. You're fine that it's with you in the car and it's telling you, hey, maybe there's something you should be worried about. But it's just telling you you needed to prepare, or maybe you needed to practice. So by doing the breathing, by doing the inhaling and exhaling and occupying your mind, you're reclaiming your body and you're saying, I'm prepared for this. I'm ready. Thank you for the information on the fear. I don't need it. You can be in the car, but you're not going to be in the driver's seat. And this is the quick reset routine that you can do almost anywhere. Breathing 1 to 2 minutes tops. That's all you really need to regulate your breathing and calm down.
Yeah. And I love that, Beth. I think that, whether you're about to go in for your review, whether you're going into a meeting, whether you're about to present that second, if the boss just said, let's go around the room and do a report out, like, oh, shoot, I have to present. You can quietly do the box breathing. And I mainly use it before I go up on the stage because I still have nerves. I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years and we stand up in front of hundreds of people and we still get nerves. So we still use this box breathing. You can move the slide on, Lise. Okay. So after you've gone through that, you look like this girl who's standing in front of the stock exchange, the fearless girl. And when you're the fearless girl, now we can start to think about what we're going to present. So next slide. And that's my favorite statue too. Actually, we use it on our logo. So I'd like to talk to you about this, message mastery. And this is so important. This is that formula I was telling you about. For those of you who put in the chat, and a lot of you did, I'd like to be prepared. I don't want to say anything that can be questioned. I'm afraid of getting questions that I can't answer. This kind of will help you a lot. Next. Okay, key to success. Everything you do, personal life, professional life, begin with the end in mind. And for those of you who do not know who Stephen Covey is, my favorite all-time book is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And it is phenomenal. It is old. I think it was written in the 70s. Principles still apply today. And this is his biggest saying, begin with the end in mind. So before we open our mouths, be very thoughtful about what you're going to say. And what is your end in mind? Why are you presenting? Why are you speaking up at a group meeting? Why are you going in to ask for a raise? What's your end in mind? And it might be the raise. It might be, I want to, give them this information. For Beth and I, it's, we want you to leave and, next week be willing to speak up. But if I'm speaking to a group of advisors, my end in mind is I want them to hire me. I want someone to hire me, and that's my end in mind. So my whole talk, which is value added for them, also is going to be sprinkled with something that is going to hopefully have them raise their hand and go, I want to work with Holly. Okay, so begin with that end in mind. And the next question you're going to ask yourself. So A, what's my personal end in mind? And number 2, who's the audience? Who is the audience? And this is so important. When you go in to meet with your boss, when you go in to meet with a group of executives, who's the audience and what the heck do they care about? Right? It's not about what you want to say. It's not about the job justification or the big project you just ran. It's why is this project important to them? Why is what I tell my boss I accomplished last year important to them? Not how hard I worked, but hey, here's what I did to affect our bottom line. What's important to the executives? What's important to the group of 100 people who are sitting at the edge of their seats while you tell them about how AI can change their lives? Well, what's the audience? If you're telling a group of 15-year-olds how AI can change their lives versus a group of 40-year-old executives, it's a totally different presentation. So really know who your audience is and what they care about and what their objectives are. And your whole presentation needs to be switched to that paradigm. Okay, let's go to the next one. So once you know what your end in mind is and what do you want, and you know your audience, think about the audience. What do you want them to know? What's important for them to know that is going to help hit your objective or your end in mind? What do you want them to do? And this is where we always miss the mark. We forget to tell them what to do. People want to know what to do. They do. And we always kind of report out or give our presentation and we're like, thanks so much for coming. And you're so relieved to be done speaking that you're just like, see ya. But that's not it, right? We have to tell them what to do. Hey, I'm so glad you came today. Here's what the project my team and I worked on last year, and here's how it affects you. And you know what I'd like you to do? I'd like you to tell me how this might help your department. I'd like you to go back and tell one person. I'd like you to email me, whatever that action is, make sure you tell them what to do. And most importantly, how can you make them feel? And how do you want to make them feel? And 9 times out of 10, we want them to know us. We want them to like us. We want them to trust us. That's how we want them to feel. We want them to say, I trust that Holly's doing her job the right way. I trust that Holly's giving me really good tips today, and she's been doing this 20 years, and she knows what she's talking about. That's how I want you to feel. What do I want you to do? I want you to speak up. What do I want you to know? Everything Beth and I are telling you. So if that's all you do before you prepare, is you just think of what's my end in mind? Who's the audience? What do I want them to know, do, feel? The way you present yourself is going to change tomorrow. Okay. For those of you who, and I saw a lot of people in there say, I like to be prepared. I always feel like I'm unprepared. Well, this is for you. This formula is for you. Whether you're giving a toast and it's a 1-minute toast, whether you are reporting out at a meeting, or whether you are presenting to 200 people, it's the same outline. And that's what's so simple about this. Now, what we usually find is people jump right into the content body. And you say, hey, this is what me and my team did last week. Thanks very much. Goodbye. But what you want to do is you want to introduce it in a very compelling way. If you're standing up on a stage, as you know, Lisa introduced us, and then I came in and I was like, yeah, Beth and I were college roommates, and we're passionate about helping people because we built our careers and we've both built 3 businesses on speaking. So I told you a little bit about my story. Now, are you going to do this in a meeting with 10 of your peers? No, but you still have to introduce, hey, I want to tell you about this project we're doing with technology because it affects you and it's really important to you. And now I go into my content body, but you've got them to sit up, right? It's not just the same old boring report out. If you're going for your review, which I know a lot of you are doing this week, you go in and say, hey, I had a really great year and I accomplished a lot and I'm excited to tell you about it because I think it really helped the department. And then your content body. And then the most important thing we always forget, what's the close and action step? What is your close and action step? Okay, so that's your formula, no matter what you're doing. And I'm going to give you a little example here. If you can pop to the next slide. You can keep going, Lisa. Thank you. So this is the simple content generation method. Okay, you're going to use that introduction, content, and close. But here's how you can do it if you want to prepare, for all you preparers out there. So what I want you to do when you're thinking about this after today or this weekend is get out some sticky notes. You could go to the next slide. And as you can see here, you could go one more, sorry, thought it was next. So for the sticky notes, what you want to do, whether you're preparing for a 5-hour workshop, a 1-hour presentation, or a 10-minute report out, is you want to dump everything out from your brain. Now you can use the memo cubes or the sticky notes like I did here, or you can write it on a piece of paper. So for today's sake, I'm going to have you all write it on a piece of paper. But when we do this in workshop form, we have people all over the room with hundreds and hundreds of sticky notes, and we give you a lot of time to do that. We don't have time today. So I'm just going to show you how to do it and then really want you to do it this weekend while it's fresh. Okay. So what I did here is I said, you know what? Beth and I have been working so hard and we're grinding, right? I'm sure all of you are grinding and you feel like you're grinding. So I'd like to put together a presentation on how I can learn to relax. And the way I learned to relax is it's a beautiful spring day. What can I do? And I just brain dumped it. All the things I like to do. I did not judge myself. If there was something dumb in there, I put it down anyway. But first, you dump it out on a piece of paper. If you're telling somebody about, the latest use of, using the CRM, dump it all out. What are all the benefits? What are all the drawbacks? What are all the challenges? Throw it all out on paper. Everything you want this audience to know about your topic, you dump. And then you are going to organize it. And the way you organize it is always in rule of 3. And if you walk away today and this is all you remember the rule of 3. So what I did here is I've started pulling things together, right? Disregard the titles at the top. But I was like, a spring day and everything I want to do on a spring day can easily be categorized in 3. Family, friends, kids, and neighbors. Well, that's all about connecting with people. Walks, hiking, golf, and biking. That's all movement. That's all exercise. And then the last thing is all little simple joys I love, having coffee outside, gardening, etc. So now I've got a presentation. I just put a title at the top of each one. And here, I'm going to give it to you quickly, my presentation, so that you can see how easy it is. And you can do it this weekend or later today. So, hi, I'm Holly. I am an overachiever and I never give myself time to relax. So today I'd like to talk to you about how I'm going to relax this weekend. The first thing I'm going to do is make some connections with people that I've fallen behind on. The second thing is I'm going to get my body moving because that always makes me feel better. And the last thing is I need to start with the simple pleasures and simple joys in life. So let me talk to you about connection. And then I go through all that. Then I go, number 2, movement, blah, 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 blah. Number 3, simple joys. So now I've got my whole presentation and I've given my intro and I've told you my story and I've laid it out in 3 so that I'm going to say 3 things and then I'm going to wrap it up, right? So you're following with me. Oh, she already said number 1. Now she's on movement. Now she's on simple joys. She's almost done. And I don't care if you're doing a 50-second presentation. You can still say, there are 3 things I want to tell you today. This, and this. And people will remember that. You will look like you have clarity, which is so critical in the workplace. And you will wrap it up with the action step. And so I would say this presentation to you, and then I'm going to wrap it. I'm going to say, so for all you overachievers out there, all of you who are working too hard, I need you to take some time this weekend and get outside and have movement. Connect with someone you haven't connected with and sit outside and have a cup of coffee and enjoy yourself. Thank you so much for joining me. So do you see how I wrapped it and I gave you an action step? So next slide. Back to the outline, right? I did that in 2 minutes. But if you sit down and you have something to do next week and you have to report out to your boss, do the brain dump, organize it into 3, think of your intro and think of your close. It is that simple. It is a formula, ladies, and it will accelerate your career. Let's move on back to Beth, who's going to talk to you a little bit about delivery.
Thanks, Holly. When we talk about a delivery, Holly gave you such great ideas for content, and I see a lot of comments in the chat which were, "This is brilliant. I love this formula." And you're right? It made it so simple. But now we have to deliver it. So what does that look like? How can we make it dynamic so that people are listening? And obviously, Holly made hers very dynamic. So what did she do, and what can you do going forward? Next slide, please. This is such an amazing quote, and I hope you write it down. Sameness is the death of the communicator. And so we've all been in the presentation that went along something like this, and the slides weren't exciting, and they all looked the same, and this person spoke like this, and at the end, you were like, please let this end. It's so painful. And so how can Sameness is the death of the communicator because it doesn't engage the audience. It doesn't get everybody leaning in. You were leaning in on Holly because you're like, I want to know what she's going to do on a spring day. And early on, Holly had, you type into the chat and I asked you to raise your hand. We tried to move it around so that you're engaged. We want you engaged with us. We don't want to just speak at you and you don't want to speak at anyone else. So how can we fix this? How can we not have this sameness? Because this will not be a good presentation. And I call it my ShopRite speech when I hear someone do this. And why would I call it the ShopRite speech? Because I hear them going on and on and on, and I've disengaged. So I start to write my ShopRite list. And I go, okay, well, you know what? I'm not getting anything out of this presentation. I might as well make my list for ShopRite because I'll get something done here. So we don't want to have a ShopRite presentation. Next slide, please. We also get a lot of this. I'll pause for a moment so you can let this information sink in. If you can remember all of our slides, any of our slides, we didn't have a lot on them. We had a quote, we had a number, we had a picture. We wanted it easy for you to absorb, take it in quickly, and then again, start listening to me or Holly. If you have too much on a slide, they will read the slide, they will devour the slide, and they will forget about listening to you. The slides are for you. So if you have any slide like this, the first thing we do when we see a slide like that in someone's deck is we pull it right out and say, what did you want to convey? Because that slide isn't going in the deck. Next slide, please. If you want your speech to be compelling, it's going to look like an EKG. It's going to have movement. It's going to have excitement. It might have a moment where there's a pause. Pause is fabulous for effect. When you stop and you let it sink in, if you're giving a really important point you want to make, say nothing after that. Or maybe you tell a joke. If you're funny, tell a joke. If you're not funny, don't tell a joke. That's not going to land well for you. But you want movement and you want your presentation to look like an EKG. Again, not like a flat line or a ShopRite speech. Next slide, please. So here is the big takeaway on delivery. You need to work harder on your delivery than your content. And I'll say that again. You need to work harder on your delivery than your content. Most people will focus on their content, and your content is important. I'm not going to tell you that doesn't matter. But once your content is set, I need you to start working on your delivery so that you figure out how you're going to engage the audience, how you're going to make it exciting for someone to travel along with you on this journey, whether it's 3 minutes or an hour. How are they going to travel on this journey with you that they want to stay engaged with you and you're compelling till the very end? Next slide, please. So here are some style choices. I know we don't have a lot of time together. You can put them all up, Lisa. These are the 3 major mistakes people make. On your feet. Clearly, we're on Zoom, so there's no feet involved here. But if you were on a stage or in a room, the 2 mistakes people make are either they stand still like they're in quicksand, not the biggest mistake you can make. The biggest one would be pacing. And we have people that pace back and forth. And again, the audience will follow your pacing. They'll get distracted and they're going to stop listening to you. So move your feet if you have a place to go, land, and then deliver wherever you are and whatever you want to deliver at that point. Make it powerful. For your hands, that's another problem. People tend to use their hands a lot and they want to use their hands or they don't know what to do with their hands. I'll give you 3 rules of thumb. Use your hands. Even if you're on Zoom, you can use your hands. Keep them in the screen. Can't use them the whole time. If you don't want to use them, collapse them, fold them like this, but not up here. Obviously, I'm just sharing on Zoom. Or if you have pants or a pocket, you can slide a hand in a pocket. If you have a microphone or maybe you're behind a podium, just be mindful of your hands. It's another big problem that people have, that they use their hands way too much. And then lastly, your eyes. Cast your eyes on the audience, whoever that is, one or many. Make a connection with them. And the most important point here is if you have a very important point you want to deliver, stop, look at the audience, make the statement, whatever it is that you want to make. And then you can pull back and you can either move with your eyes or with your feet or with both. But if you're making an important point, don't have your eyes looking away and your feet are walking. Make a point to deliver it to the audience that came to listen to you. You want to make sure they hear that. And then if you want to pack an extra punch, pause afterwards so they can absorb what you just said. Next slide, please. The most important thing Holly and I can say to you today is to be yourself. That is who people came to meet. We don't want you to be a robot. We don't want you to be perfect. We just want you to be authentic you. That's where people will engage. They'll know, like, and trust you, and they'll want to hear more from you. So most important thing for you to do with your entire presentation is be yourself and be engaging. Next slide, please. So action steps for you. You can put all three up. That's fine. We gave you the formula. We gave you a few formulas. We gave you a handful of things that came in threes, right? So we gave you how to overcome your nerves, how to create content, and how to have a dynamic delivery. So you have the formula. Pick one speaking opportunity in the future, whether it's next week or next month, but no longer than next month, and commit to speaking, and then prepare. Practice, practice, practice. Make yourself good. Make your delivery way more important than your content. And then lastly, invest in your voice. You can work with Holly and me. You can work with a myriad of other people that work on public speaking and how to elevate your voice. But invest in that. It will be an investment so worth your time and your energy and your money. You will use it in your personal life. You will use it in your professional life. And it will make you feel more calm and confident no matter where you are.